In 2009, the tragic Walt Disney World monorail disaster happened at the transportation and ticket center station on the network, killing one person. Little did anyone know that another monorail collision would only come a year later. 27th of February 2010, 4 Metro monorail trains are all heading in the regular anti-clockwise loop on the Sydney Metro monorail network, a single loop line heading around Darling Harbour, which opened in 1988. For the sake of this video, here is an animated diagram of its history up to 2010. Set 1 was the first to operate at 6:42 am as a goods service delivering supplies to all the stations. After making a loop of the network, it then switched to a passenger train. The others slowly entered service as the morning began. Monorail 1 was taken out of service at 9:34 am due to issues with its drive units. It was returned to service at 11:10 am. Due to this, Monorail 1 was to be driven in fully manual mode, making all decisions about its operation being made by the driver. Monorail 4 was to be taken out of service later on due to problems with its doors. At Galleries Victoria Station, a relief driver boarded Monorail 1 to relieve the current driver at World Square, almost a full loop away. Meanwhile, at Darling Park Station, while Monorail 1 was at City Centre Station, Monorail 4 was stuck at the platform due to issues with its doors. They would not close. The driver of Set 4 contacted the controller by radio. The controller then tried to contact Monorail 1 and notify him about the broken down train ahead, but he didn't know his exact location, because for some reason, the monorail was not shown to be moving on the live system map. The controller called Set 1, and through the radio, he hears an alarm saying that his monorail is about to hit another train. Then, another alarm, which would have set off the emergency brakes automatically if it wasn't in manual. Then, just 40 meters from the station, he saw the monorail stopped inside of it. He slams on the brakes manually and sets the throttle to 0. But it was too late. The two monorails hit each other at exactly 4 p.m. 4 people are injured. Monorail 4's tail end is smashed, exposing the end shell, not to mention the broken glass at the end. The damage is worse on Monorail 1. The middle window is miraculously spotless, but that can't be said for the rest of the nose. But how could such a violent collision happen? It just so happens that just before Darling Park Station, there is a tree blocking the way. This means that there was no way for the driver to see Monorail 4 in the station, and thus the trains collided. But why was Train 1 in manual in the first place? The first loop made by every monorail each day is done in manual to refresh drivers on how to operate the trains in this mode. Initially, manual was only supposed to be used in the depot. However, after the system opened in 1988, when the other auto mode was found to be extremely buggy, it was never used again. There was also semi-automatic mode, which is the common system of operation on the network. It basically turns the driver into a guard, operating doors and station dwell time. The monorail is autopiloted in this system. If the monorail was in semi-automatic, no alarms would have sounded and the train would grind to a halt outside the station. However, still, there is a collision preventer for manual monorail, the ACES system. However, the driver had bypassed this. This is by turning it off via a switch locked in the driver's cabin. All drivers have keys to open this box with them at all times. However, this was not the case. The system was not bypassed. When investigators looked into Monorail 4, it was set to on. No one knows what happened. Did they switch it on after the monorail crashed to cover themselves up? This is due to a lapse in data from the control room at this time. But why was it in manual? At the time of the collision, there were 6 out of 7 trains with functioning autopilot systems. Set 1 was the odd one out. From the end of 2009, all repairs on the autopilot were done internally instead of being done by hired professionals, in this case Trantech Party Limited. The autopilot system on Set 1 was to be tested before proper operations began at some time, but this did not happen by the time of the crash. The ACES system was later replaced by the ACC system. Unlike other rail systems, the Sydney monorail has no signals at all. Instead, the system uses timers, a system that has most likely been phased out in the 1900s. This is in the past caused thousands of tragic accidents, such as the Armagh train collision, the 3rd worst in the UK. The track itself had track tape applied to it to increase adhesion onto the tracks for effective braking. Around Darling Park, it was found that it was very worn out at some parts. Monorail 4 had recorded 33 door faults in the previous 12 months. This and many other faults were recorded. Many unrelated violations added on, such as this barely readable sign, were found. Luckily afterwards, the system was upgraded. However, it wouldn't last. In 2012, Metro Monorail, a subsidiary of Metro Transport Sydney, a subsidiary of Veolia, was converted into the Sydney Monorail Company. However, in 2013, the system would close down for good. This was due to several reasons, such as the monorail following along bi-directional tram tracks, the Chinatown station rarely being open, it following along just the same direction as one-way roads, the aging equipment, and no stations connecting to anything but their own networks. Some stations just went to construction sites for most of their lives. Essentially, it went to nowhere. The system shut down and it was demolished. The track and monorail trains are still around to this day, however many stations have been demolished. Darling Park, Harbourside, Chinatown, and World Square are the only ones still standing. Weirdly, the infamous tree that blocked the driver's view is still there to this day. Monorail 4 has been fully preserved by the Sydney Electric Train Society in working condition, however is stored. 2 cars from Monorail 1 have been sent to Taiwan for a future development. Luckily, it is impossible for something like this to repeat again, since the monorail network is completely gone. There is only one monorail network left, and it is quite similar to the Sydney monorail, the SeaWorld monorail in the Gold Coast, Brisbane.